frameworks and of integration with protocols such as MQTT delivered by PAHO. So just because I know there are some people on the webinar that are not necessarily familiar with M2M, even though for people who have followed the 3 previous webinars you might be, just a few words about what M2M, machine-to-machine, is. A very naive definition would be these are the technologies that support wired or wireless communication between devices. So what does it mean if we talk about a healthcare use case, for example? It means that you might have sensors on the field, a weight scale, a blood pressure sensor that you want to connect to the internet. You might have heard about the term Internet of Things, right? And you want to provide smartphone applications, sorry, web applications that make use of the data that the sensors will send and will exchange. But in this picture, at some point, you will have between your devices on the field and the servers on the other end, you will have along the way a gateway that you will need to program to actually collect the data, consolidate maybe the data, and send it over the internet using MQTT, for example, or using an SMS. And for that, you need to program. And this is where, in our picture, Lua comes into play. We want to propose Lua as a way to program the wireless gateways, because we think that having to learn C, C++ to program a gateway, which is usually the case, because we talk about embedded computers with very constrained environments. So usually the way to go is C, C++. But when you are a business guy, you know what you want to do with the data. You know how to consolidate it. You don't want to deal with memory management and stuff like that. So what is Lua? That's I think you have guessed that it's a programming language, which is what we can call a high-level language, in that it hides most of the complexity you have when you deal with C, for example, like managing the memory, or allocating memory, freeing the memory, having garbage collecting and stuff like that. It's a scripting language in that your programs are actual scripts that are interpreted by a virtual machine. So since it's a virtual machine, you have a first step where your Lua code will be compiled into bytecode. So in terms of performances, that's way better than direct interpreted code. And because it's a scripting language, your scripts, by definition, they are interpreted, so they are portable, and they are efficient, as I just said, because you have all the optimization that you can think about when the source code is converted into Lua bytecode. What Lua is not, just so you know, it's not an acronym. Lua stands for moon in Brazilian, in Portuguese, because this is where it has been invented almost 20 years ago by both university and the oil company, big oil company in Brazil, Petrobras. They invented this language because they needed an alternative, a replacement for C, for being able to manipulate data more easily in small constrained targets. And if you have, for those of you who have heard about Lua, you might know that it is it's used a lot in the video games industry, like World of Warcraft, for example. Blizzard exposes a a Lua API for developers to contribute their own UI extensions, and yeah, some other video games, they have ways to access the the game runtime, the game engine using Lua APIs. But actually, there are many companies that embed Lua inside their products to provide an API to deal with the underlying core runtime, such as being able to configure specific policies, specific routes in Cisco routers. In Adobe Lightroom, you can write, you can script image processing using Lua. Oracle has some Lua stuff for MySQL programming as well. And yeah, you go to the Wikipedia page and you will be surprised about all the cases where Lua is used in combination with an existing runtime. You can use Lua for exposing high-level APIs and interact with the just like JNI for Java, basically. So what's interesting with Lua is that, as I said already, it's a very small and simple language. It's like you in a couple hours you will know 90% of the features, and all you will master the syntax almost immediately. It's really a language very simple to learn, but it doesn't mean that the 10 other percent are not. I mean, you have features such as advanced memory management. Even though you are working on constraint target, you have a real garbage collector for memory management. You have a tail call optimization for specific. I mean, when you have a recursive algorithm, you can do multi-threading using coroutines, and that's a real language. That's not just a small scripting language a la Bash or something like that. And what's interesting, I mean, we talk about embedded targets, so the Lua core is really small. You can the compiled binary is like 150 kilobytes, and there are also, by the way, flavors of Lua that run on microcontrollers, so even smaller than, I mean, only tens of kilobytes, not even hundreds. And the way it's thought, the way it has been designed, is that if you need to do sockets, for example, if you want to do network and stuff like that, you have libraries to do that. It's not necessarily part of the language itself. You have a set of libraries that are part of the Lua ecosystem, Lua community, maintained by the community, that you can use for doing new stuff. Lua is portable in that, as I said, it's a scripting language. So whatever Lua code you write, it will be you can run it on whatever virtual machine, and no matter what's the underlying hardware and so on. And the Lua VM itself, since the very beginning, it has always been written in pure C and C, which means that it's usually pretty trivial to compile the VM against a specific target. In terms of features, of course, you have all the data structure that you need in language usually, strings, lists, and tables, and HTML, and so on. I mentioned that already. The memory management, you have a garbage collector, so not only you don't need to allocate the memory, but you don't need to free it either, which is handy when, I mean, we all know what it means to manage memory in C. It's always a pain. You have a way to do exception management and error handling. You also have a large ecosystem of tools, starting by the Lua console. When you compile the Lua VM, you have a shell that you can use to easily test your algorithms and test your scripts using an interactive console. But the ecosystem of tools is pretty rich. You have, just as Ruby with the gem mechanism, you have sorry about that. You have a package manager called LuaRox for deploying, installing easily Lua libraries. You have the code profilers, you have frameworks to do unit testing and stuff like that. So since Lua is a dynamic language, it means that if you are doing embedded, which is the main purpose of the webinar today, it's really handy because you imagine you're writing a driver for dealing with ZigBee data frames that are available on your network, and you are in the process of actually writing the driver. It's very easy to replace, to do hot replace of your code without having to reboot and to restart your application. And if we talk about embedded targets, usually restarting an application is not immediate, so it's helpful to be able to have that kind of dynamic development mode. And in terms of execution model, you don't have, as I said already, to deal with memory management when you pass incorrect arguments. That's also something which is by design already taken care of by the language. And when you do multi-threading as well, it's by using coroutines. So it's you know what happens behind the scenes when you start doing multi-threading. It's not, and it won't be hardware specific. Lua, compared to other high-level languages, in terms of features, I mean, there's nothing in Python or in Ruby that's not available in Lua. As I just said, because of the coroutine mechanism, when you want to do concurrency and then do a collaborative programming, it's more deterministic, let's say, and they won't rely on the underlying OS implementation. In terms of performances, Lua is, I mean, if you look at the benchmarks, you'll see that it's in most cases it doesn't have a big overhead, and especially if you and that's the last bullet point. If you integrate Lua with legacy C applications, basically you will expose APIs for an existing 3D engine, for example. Then you will have the performances of your underlying libraries, but the simplicity of Lua API and of the automatic memory management it will bring you, and so on. Lua, what if we would use Lua for embedded and especially for M2M development? Historically, there are cases where embedded targets run scripting high-level languages. Python is pretty popular in M2M, but usually the problem is that for running a Python stack, you cannot have a too constrained target. So yeah, Python will help developers develop their applications faster, but it will cost more in terms of hardware. So the high-level languages such as Ruby, they are now very popular on full-blown PCs. Like, yeah, Ruby on Rails is very popular, it's very well adopted, but on small constrained targets, that's not viable to run Python, to run Ruby, but that's viable to run Lua. So you can have both the advantages of the high-level APIs with the embedded constraints. So that's how we came up with the idea of providing what we call an application framework for developing M2M applications, because not only when you develop an M2M application, you will need to do some basic data manipulation and so on, but at some point you want to interact with the hardware, with the sensors and so on. So the Mihini framework that we proposed and the new project that we created under the umbrella of the industry working group aims at bringing all the libraries that are useful for M2M development. First of all, manipulating the I/Os of the system, accessing the serial port, the GPS, communicating with the wireless modem, then being able to do IP, to do FTP, to do HTTP, etc., etc., and also, of course, at some point to communicate with an actual M2M server by using MQTT, for example, and we will see in the demo what it means. And then this framework, it's not only a framework that we need also tools. Okay, the language is easy to learn, but it doesn't mean you don't want good support in your IDE and have a content assist and the way to navigate through your different programs and debug them and deploy them on remote targets. So this is the if you are Koneki is another Eclipse project whose purpose is to deliver tools for M2M developers, and the first we thought it was important to first work on an IDE for Lua developers. We released it together with Eclipse Juno back in June, the first official release. We plan another release with, among other things, the support for remote development, which I'll demo in just a few minutes. That's for the end of the year. And we want to graduate for Kepler next June. And just maybe an illustration that Lua is not that confidential. In the 9 months or so since we first started to deliver versions of Lua development tools, even before the official 0.8, we have had 20,000 and counting installations of the tools, and people already using it for developing M2M applications for video games, of course, but for all sorts of use cases. So now I will switch to the to a quick demo to show you what are the features that are available in Lua development tools, and also to show you some actual Lua code. And then we can go back to the slides to see to have more info about what it. Yeah, I want to show you what Mihini will look like, because for now Mihini is a proposed project, and the source code we are in the process of contributing it. It's Sierra code at the moment, but we are just doing the IP cleaning and stuff. So demo. I have the Lua development tools here. This is, I downloaded the standalone product, the standalone IDE, but of course you can use the P2 repository of Koneki and install the development environment in your existing Eclipse installation. So here I use the standalone version, and first thing I want to demo is how you can create a project, because the point of having an IDE such as an Eclipse-based IDE is that you will have the notion of a project with the ability from your IDE to possibly manage dependency with different projects, manage your projects under Git or under SVN and all that kind of stuff. So first step will be for me to create a new Lua project, and I will call it my first project. Sounds like a good start. And what it is that is available in this wizard, besides the fact that I've picked a name, we provide a notion of execution environment. What is an execution environment? That's a zip file that you can download. I mean, if you go on the Koneki wiki, you'll have all the pointers to to existing execution environments, which are, as I said, zip files containing the description of the API, of all the available APIs of a given environment, be it the vanilla Lua 5.1 VM or the World of Warcraft API or the Mihini API. And the point of the execution environment is that it will enable content assist in the IDE and documentation, you know, all the fancy pop-ups when you hover your source code. And this is the this is the execution environment. So if you go on the Koneki wiki, you have the documentation on how you can create your own execution environment. If you have your own, you expose your own API, or you can download existing execution environments. And what's interesting as well is that execution environments, they can come with a sample of how to use the given execution environment. So for the Lua VM, that would be an hello world sample, kind of. So let me create my project, and I have my main that has been created. I have my project structure that is here, and we can see that it seems that the execution environment is configured properly because we have this new entry in the script explorer. And what does it mean? It means that not only in LDT do we provide snippets, code snippets for things such as the for loops that are available in the Lua language. So you would have a template for doing I don't know, there are different ways in Lua to iterate on arrays and on lists and so on. So let's say I want a numeric for loop for e equals 1 to 10 do, and now I want to use the execution environment and to leverage it. And what does it mean? It means that I want to print something. So I could type in print, but I could also type P and hit control space, and I have the content assist of the provided by the execution environment. And not only do I have the content assist and the autocomplete, but I have also a documentation on what my function will do. So the idea is that yeah, I can print hello something. And so that's very simple content assist. You might think, but we also provide advanced ways, though the language is dynamic, to have smart content assist. In that, if I create, I open a file. So let the content assist help me opening using the I/O module, opening a file. Foo. I open it in read mode, and now my f variable is a file. So I have the content assist available for this as well. I can close the file, and it goes as far as being able to have even a kind of alias of the variable, and I will still have the auto-completion. So that's very helpful. And you again, if you want to provide your own execution environment for your own Lua APIs, this is you can do it. This is based on a documentation language which is inspired by LDoc, and you basically annotate your functions with typing information. And not only does it allow to generate fancy documentation, but it also allows to do the content assist. So I have my small main application. Now what I probably want to do and to use the IDE for is to run the application. And here it's really simple. You can configure, declare the Lua interpreter or interpreters you have on your machine, and then use them for actually running your script. And it's as simple as doing a right click on the project and running the application, and boom, I have the application running. So that's helpful. Here I am running a regular Lua VM, but if you want to use a different UI interpreter, that's possible as well. In terms of of launching, here we are. Of course, you've seen that we provide content syntax coloring. We have an outline as well, even pretty empty. We have code folding. We have a code formatter as well. If you mess up with your indentation, you just hit Command Shift F or Control Shift F, and you can reformat the source code. And that's it for the edition. We've seen how to run the application. Now we might be interested in debugging the application. So how does it work? Here I have a project set up already. I think it's pretty similar. Yeah, it's even more dumb than the previous one, but that's to show you what it will mean to debug. You can put a breakpoint wherever you want in your source code, and instead of running the Lua script, you will debug it. So you use the debug launch configuration, and you launch your debug project. And what happens? Eclipse suggests that I switch to the debug perspective, where I will be able to monitor the state of the variables and stuff. And I am on the breakpoint on line 2, and I can see that my program is suspended. Actually, even that's a co-routing, by the way. And I have access to, I can monitor all the variables of my system, including the ability to change the value of a variable for debugging purpose. I want to change what's here, and I just go for it, Lua XXX, and I resume the program, and I can see that it just worked. So that's it. The breakpoints, I don't know how familiar you are with Eclipse, but they can be conditional as well. Like if you're in a loop, you only want to break when you are close to the end of the loop, that kind of stuff. So that's something we support as well. So that's kind of a tour of the basic features of LDT. There's, as I mentioned, the documentation language already. Just in case you want to see how it looks like, it's based on it's similar to LDoc in that if you want to start to write a documentation section, you will use 3 dashes and then write your actual documentation. And the thing is that we provide templates for helping you writing your documentation, and you can actually document the name of your module, the name of the function, what are the parameters, the type of the parameters, and so on. So feel free to use the content assist not only for writing code but also for writing the documentation. And here it is for the features of LDT. And now, what if we would? I mentioned that Mihini will provide APIs for M2M development. What does it mean in terms of tools? It means that we want to provide new features on top of Koneki to allow M2M development. And what does it mean? It means that we not only want to provide the execution environment, that's what will allow to have the documentation and the content assist for discovering the APIs of Mihini and for using them correctly. It also means that in the tools we want to target management, that is the ability from your IDE to control and monitor what's happening on the embedded runtime that's running on your Raspberry Pi or on your wireless gateway. You want to monitor to access the logs, you want to deploy an application and stuff like that. And since Mihini will also act as an application container, in that you can remotely install, start, stop Lua applications. We also need to work, and we will work on tooling that will allow to generate software packages with all the information, manifest, call it however we want, for explaining what an application is about, what are its dependencies and stuff. So this is what we want to bring in Koneki, and just a couple examples of what it will mean. Here is a project which I configured already to use what will be the Mihini APIs. So I have a Mihini execution environment, and in my main script, this is a sample of how to use Mihini to send and receive SMSs. So let's say I use the outline to jump to the main section of the program, and not only do I log information, but at some point it seems I am registering a callback for being notified when an SMS is received, and that's exactly what's happening. And you can see here that I have the documentation which tells me that SMS.register is what you want to call if you want to register a callback on SMS reception and stuff. So that's helpful. What's not helpful is the two lines at the beginning, but that's a bug that we are in the process of fixing. Just one show, but and which is helpful. SMS.register. What I register is a function, a callback function. If I hit control click, I can directly navigate to the function and see what it is about. So that's one thing that we want to propose in. That's one kind of support for Mihini in the IDE. And the other thing is that when you development, you deal with a remote target. So my next example is that I will use. I have a project which is using an MQTT library, which will soon be available as part of PAHO. For now, it's available on GitHub. It's been developed by Andy Jeremy, and it's a MQTT client in Lua. So I have a main application. We'll connect to the well-known m2m.eclipse.org MQTT broker, and post at intervals of time, we'll post messages, MQTT messages. So this project I have, what I want to show you is that I can deploy it on a remote target. This is not an embedded target. That's my Linux box running somewhere on the internet, I will deploy it, and I want to show you that I can have access to the standard output of my script, and we will also see that the MQTT message is usually sent by the program. So for doing this and for doing the remote deployments, we rely on RSE, Remote System Explorer, which is a set of plugins in Eclipse that you can use for configuring a remote system. So what I've done beforehand, before the webinar, is that I used a wizard which is called New Remote Connection, in which you can connect to either a remote. So here I have only one kind of remote system, which is a distant Lua VM, but I could maybe connect to a remote Windows box to do some remote RDP, whatever. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that RSE provides. And we leverage RSE to allow remote deployment and debugging of Lua applications. So I have my RSE connection configured already. So what I can do is that I can have a launch configuration, and let me show you how it looks in detail. In the same way I had the local launch run configuration for my local application, here I have already configured a remote Lua remote application which will actually deploy the my MQTT project on my personal Linux box, and it will do this over SCP. It will launch the Lua VM over SSH, and it will even copy the dependencies of my project. The my MQTT project, it depends on the MQTT Lua library that I also have in my workspace. All of this will be taken care of by the tooling. And let's say yeah, let me just launch first the view that will allow me to monitor that everything goes well. You may be familiar with this view if you've been in the MQTT webinar 2 weeks ago. The idea is that I will connect to m2m.eclipse.org and I will subscribe to the /Koneki namespace, /Koneki topic, because this is where my Lua app will be posting stuff. So I subscribe to the topic, and now I launch my application remotely. So I can, yeah, let me just do it in the same UI as before. Again, my MQTT project will be deployed on my server, and I will launch main.lua, and let's just run it. So what happens now is that the files are being copied and posted to MQTT. So did I? Yeah, I subscribed. So /Koneki. Yeah, it doesn't work. That's weird. It should work. So if an MQTT guy is on the webinar, maybe you guys will have more luck than I have. Maybe it's just the view which is not working here. I don't know. I should yeah, I've tried just before and it was working. So that's yeah, that's one thing I wanted to show you, is that you can use Koneki for remote development, just as you would do if you had an embedded target, and you can use an MQTT client when the times come of communicating with an actual server. And just, of course, that's, I mean, that starts to be maybe obvious, but the MQTT library, because I have documented the library using the Lua documenter language that we provide in LDT, I have the content assist, I have the documentation. So I'm not familiar with the MQTT client. I just use control space for seeing what's available to me. I can, oh, okay, sounds easy. I can publish, I can subscribe, I can unsubscribe. Sounds, yeah, that's the whole point of having the execution environments available. So that's it for the demos, and just a quick wrap up, and after I will be happy to answer your questions. We've seen that Lua seems to be a language that's easy to learn and probably in some ways fun, and that can be used for M2M development because of Mihini, because of the tooling we provide in the IDE. Just for your information, there are many development frameworks available besides, I mean, for mobile development, for example. There are many environments based on Lua, because in the exact same way we in the M2M industry working group think that Lua will help us get more developers tinkering with hardware and building solutions and collaborating with each other, because there will be a much lower barrier to learning how to develop an M2M application. People such as Gideras or the guys beyond the Corona SDK, they know that video games on mobile platforms, sometimes they are developed by teenagers in their during their weekends. So there needs to be a way for quick development and quick prototyping, and that's why they provide Lua-based framework for developing games, and that physics engine and UI widgets and all that kind of stuff. And so actually, when you build an M2M application, when you have a heartbeat sensor sending data to an MQTT broker, you can use a mobile framework such as Corona and the Lua MQTT client for building a fancy UI running on top of your iPhone or of your Android phone. So not only you can use that kind of frameworks and it will just work, but you can also use Koneki LDT to have debugging support, to have content assist. So depending on what framework you target, for some of them we worked on on bootstrapping the actual the work of creating the execution environments and stuff. So if you want to play with Gideras, for example, there's an execution environment available somewhere on the internet that you can use for having the content assist. And if I remember correctly, we support debugging as well for Gideras, where debugger works well with Gideras. And if you want to see a demo, an end-to-end M2M demo of Zigbee sensors communicating with a wireless gateway and sending the gateway sending MQTT messages to the broker at Eclipse, and on the other end, you have a mobile application displaying the results. Feel free to search on YouTube for a video that Andy Piper kindly did back at EclipseCon US in March, where we demo the whole end-to-end chain of a real use case. And there's Lua pretty much everywhere. At least there's Lua in the embedded gateway, and there's Lua in the final end-user app. Yeah, which is cool. I mean, you don't just need to know about Lua, and you can build end-to-end M2M applications. So that's it. I think now I have time for answering your questions. If you need more information, of course, feel free to go to the M2M Eclipse Store portal or to the project themselves. Koneki, it's pretty much, I mean, there's a lot of information on Koneki and Mihini. As I said, it's a pretty new project, so have a look at the proposal and feel free to ask questions on our mailing list if you want to learn more about what we'll actually be contributing in the next few weeks. We're just in the process of tuning our code base, and that's it. Thank you.
All right, so thanks, Benjamin. So we've got a lot of questions already come in, so we'll start going through them. First question is, on what licenses?
Did I say that I'm not a Lua expert? So if there are very specific Lua questions, maybe I won't have the answer. But
okay, well, yeah, you can defer them. So, and so with the first question is, on what license is Mihini being published? MIT or more like GPL?
So Mihini will be licensed under the Eclipse public license, but that's right that we've been wondering if that would make sense to dual license Mihini, so as it is both available under the terms of the EPL and the MIT, mainly because yeah, MIT is kind of the license that every Lua project in the Lua community is using. I am not a lawyer, but I'm pretty much sure EPL doesn't differ much from MIT, but just for the sake of re-ensuring people and having people more comfortable, we will study the possibility to do a license. Otherwise, it's EPL, just like other Eclipse projects.
All right, and just I'm not a lawyer either, but the Eclipse public license, if you're not familiar with it, is what's called a weak copyleft. So it's closer to the Mozilla public license and the LGPL. Next question is, does Lua support IPv6 networking?
I have no idea. I would say yes, out of the top of my head. That's if you've followed what I said regarding the Lua core versus the libraries. Networking support is not part of the language itself. So for doing IP connectivity and adding an FTP stack, TCP stack, UDP, and so on, that's the Lua socket library, which is Lua APIs and C code using POSIX APIs and so on for doing the stuff. So I'm pretty much sure it's able to do IPv6. You just need to check whether Lua socket supports it or not.
Okay. Next question: Are there any books or resources available for Lua and Mihini? So I think Mihini is a bit early for books. But so are there
regarding Lua? There's one book which is available for free on lua.org. You can browse the HTML content of the book. It's called Programming in Lua. It's a book with a blue cover, so the acronym for programming in Lua would be PEEL. So it's often referred as the blue PEEL, and it's like, yeah, the reference. It's been written by the guys who invented the language, and that's, I mean, that's where I learned pretty much everything I know about Lua. And I'm not an expert in Lua, but anytime I need an answer, it's in this book. And regarding Mihini, as I said, unfortunately the code is not here just yet. But still, what will be Mihini is already a product that Sierra Wireless has been releasing a 6 months ago or so. It's called the Alias Application Framework. So we have the documentation for this product already available. If you go on the developer zone of Sierra Wireless, you will have access to the documentation of all the APIs, which I think will help you understand what it is we provide in terms of functionalities. You have information as well in the Mihini proposal, and back to the developer zone of Sierra, you have also some examples. I mean, they are on Sierra Wireless GitHub. You have the sample I showed regarding sending SMSs. This one is already it's already EPL. So if you want to have to have a look at how the code looks like when you use Mihini, then look at how it looks for Alias Application Framework. That will be the same API, at least for the initial contribution.
All right. On to the next one. Does the check for updates entry in the help menu of LDT actually work?
Should work. The thing is that, yeah, updates in Eclipse, sometimes you can have issues. The thing is that at some point between the 0.9 and the 0.8 and the 0.9, we switch to Eclipse 4, and from time to time we might introduce new dependencies and so on. So if you have issues, and we are aware of a couple of issues, please use the forum, the Koneki forum, eclipse.org/forums/Koneki. Post your whatever error you have, stack trace, whatever. There might be issues, but there are no issues that we don't know the fix for. So we should be able to help you in just the time for us to answer your post on the forum.
Okay. Next question is, how do I set the tabs within? How do I set the tab width to 8 blanks in LDT editor?
So you have you still see my screen, right?
Yep.
So in the preferences of Eclipse, we are pretty much consistent with all the other editors that you might have in your Eclipse IDE. Whatever you want to change in terms of what are the colors used for highlighting global variables, local variables, what are the do you want your code, your comments, your code comments to be folded by default when you open a file? This is all configurable. So in terms of formatting, that would be, actually that's not under the editor, that's under the formatter section. And so you have a way to tweak whether you want to indent using tabs or using spaces, or a mixed mode, which will, I mean, if you have something mixed already, it will try to stick to it. But this is where you can change the formatter settings. And just a quick, because I know there are LDT users who are not familiar with Eclipse at all. There's an incredibly smart shortcut in Eclipse, which is quick access. You access it from here or by hitting Control-3, Command-3, and you look for the formatter preferences. So how about I start typing formatter? Oh, cool. I have access to the formatter of Lua. I want to tweak the syntax coloring. How about I start typing syntax coloring? Yeah, got it. That's yeah. If you don't find what you are looking for here, it might not be available in the first place.
Okay, I think Mark, the guy that answered the question, Mark, said great, thanks. So I think you answered his question. Going on, so there's two questions about can we download the MQTT Lua libraries, and let me take that one because so Benjamin, you can add. So right now the person who developed the MQTT Lua libraries is in the process of contributing to the PAHO project, the Eclipse PAHO project. The hope is to have that in the next couple of weeks. The code is actually available on GitHub, so if you just go and search on GitHub, you can find it on GitHub. But it is coming into Eclipse and into PAHO in the next couple of weeks. And Benjamin, did you want to add anything more to that?
Nope, but the code is available on GitHub in the meantime.
Yeah.
So yeah, just Google Lua MQTT GitHub. You will find it. The guy is Andy Jelmy, and his nickname is Andy Cabe, I think. So that you will find it, including the version with the documentation, so as Koneki can provide you with the content assistant stuff.
Going on to, does Lua support features like source discovery to identify and connect to the network devices?
I don't know. Yeah, you would need to ask on the Lua mailing list. You will have your answer there probably.
But that sounds like it would be a framework above the Lua language.
Yeah, that like would definitely be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically that type of functionality, you'd have to go into the Lua mailing list and Lua community to find a framework to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Going on, will the framework support Lua coroutines? And so I'm assuming the framework being Mahini here.
Yeah, actually we have that's a we are lucky to have in our team, in the Mahini team, a guy called Fabien, which we developed on top of the co-routing mechanism of Lua, a complete scheduling framework, so as you can have not only access to co-routings, which are built in the language, but also to ways to do when you want to communicate with a serial port, you want to do it in an asynchronous mode so as not to be blocked while no data is available. So yeah, there's a complete scheduler built on top of the co-routings and stuff, and this is part of Mahini and actually useful for doing network communication, accessing the GPIOs, or doing advanced multi-threading.
Okay, and just kind of a follow-up from Alfred, will it use the Lua JIT and the Lua 5.2 version?
The Mahini, the initial contribution will be based on, and as far as I know, only compatible with Lua 5.1. We want to provide support for 5.2, and Lua JIT we just haven't had a look at it just yet. But for what it's worth, this is also something we want to have a look at in terms of for Koneki. At the moment, the Koneki debugger it doesn't work out of the box on Lua 5.2, nor on Lua JIT, and we want to improve that. Hopefully for the 0.9 release for the end of the year.
Okay. So one final remark from Mark. I'm amazed by LDT. So some nice feedback.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Any other questions that people might have? So I'll give people a few seconds to like a minute or so to. If there's any more questions, what is the smallest known implementation of the Lua runtime?
Sorry, I missed a few words. Can you say again?
What is the smallest known implementation of the Lua runtime?
It depends. I mean, there's a flavor of Lua called Elua. I mean, it's written, it's Elua, but since it's the Brazilian guys, they say Elua for embedded Lua. and it runs on very small microcontrollers. That's not the full-blown Lua language, but still you can have sockets, and you can do what you would want to do on the microcontroller, and it runs with only something around 100-ish kilobytes of flash and the same amount of RAM. So of course you won't run huge programs and stuff, but still you can run on microcontrollers such as the embed or a flavor of the Arduino with a very with maybe 256 kilobytes of RAM. But yeah, I think it runs on a flavor of the NetDuino maybe.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. A few words about updating Lua during runtime or over-the-air updates. Do you have any?
Like updating the Lua VM itself. That would be something that would need to be addressed probably by Mihini. In that Mihini will provide an application manager. So it could be possible to use it for updating the Mihini agent itself, but yeah, not sure we can exactly cover strictly speaking an update of the Lua VM over the air. I will need to double check with the rest of the Mihini team.
Okay. Any final questions? Right. Well, so certainly Benjamin is very active in the Koneki and Mihini mailing list. So if you do have follow-up questions, I'm sure he'll be available to answer them there. Also, if you're interested, I know Koneki and Mihini's those projects are looking for collaborators and contributors. So we always encourage people to get involved, whether it's just opening bugs, providing feedback, or eventually maybe committing some patches and code. But Benjamin, any final comments or?
Yeah, as you said, okay, I'm active on the mailing list, but also big kudos to the developers of Koneki. We have several people working full time on LDT. Simon, Gaetan, Mark, Kevin, Julian work on the debugger. I mean, these are the guys doing the great stuff. And on Mihini, we have also, as I said, Fabien, and we will have Quero, Laurent. That's and we all are happy when we get feedback, and whenever we can help solving problems or getting your feature requests, that's much appreciated.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Benjamin, for doing the webinar. I think it was really good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and with some really great questions. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I will be sending out. We were recording the webinar, and I will be sending out a link to the recording in the next day or two. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks all. Bye.